Alright guys, so as you can see, my eyebrows are so freaking unruly and out of control. I'm not looking at the camera because I'm gathering the things that I'm gonna need. My eyebrows, like, they have the hairs growing, they look raggedy and all that jazz. So I'm gonna show you guys how I fix them along with an updated brow routine. So I only use a few things to get my brows back together. Of course, first I use tweezers. I do not go and get my eyebrows professionally threaded or waxed or anything because the way my eyebrows are, they're already like naturally arched. I just need to clean them up a little bit. So I just use some tweezers to do that. The next thing that I use, this is different from my last brow routine. I just started using the Anastasia Beverly Hills Dip Brown Pomade, and I also use the small brush. This is the number 7 brush that comes with it. I was going to get the big one, but they didn't have it. But this one's the perfect size because I have small hands. So small brush for small hands. And this is an ebony, and I really, really like this. It doesn't come off or anything, and it stays on the entire day. I also use this brow powder that I just got from my beauty supply store, and it's just it says the color is taupe brown powder, and that's just to set the Anastasia Beverly Hills. And then I also use my MAC Studio Finish Concealer, and this is in the color NW40, and it's like a couple shades lighter than my skin complexion, but I really use this to clean it up. But not only to clean it up, I only use it on the underside of my brows, but I also use it as a transition into my brow bone highlight, which is why I use the one that's so light. I do not conceal the top of my eyebrows, guys. I think I mentioned that in the last video. So before I do anything to my eyebrows, I like to brush them out. So I use the end of my Anastasia Beverly Hills brush, and I just brush them upward so that I can see where my arch is and what hairs I need to pluck. So I'm gonna do this one on regular speed, and then when I switch to the other eyebrow, I'm gonna speed the video up so you guys won't have to watch me doing this on the other eyebrow, because it does get a little bit boring. Oh, I almost forgot to mention, I also use shears, which can be potentially dangerous, but if you have a steady hand and you take your time, you'll be okay. I just use that to trim the excessively long hairs that I have growing on my eyebrows. And so the first thing that I do is I take the tweezers, and as you can see, I have these hairs. I'm going to zoom in so you could possibly see. I have these hairs underneath my eyebrows that I know I need to pluck. So I'm just going to pluck these first. And I just use my tweezers. And I just go through, and it doesn't hurt me too much anymore because I'm so used to it. It doesn't really, if this is your first time, you might get a little bit irritated. And it might hurt you, but I'm like immune to the pain feeling. So you see I plucked those stray hairs out. And now I'm just gonna pluck a few more of the hairs so that I can get the desired shape that I want. And my eyebrows aren't as bad as what they are when I usually do this. I didn't let them get to that point this time. I think the last time I arched my eyebrows was like early April, so it's been like a month. So it was indeed time. And after I get the hairs from underneath, I just go up top on the tail end and on the arch, and I just pluck those hairs out as well. Only the ones that need it. Do not overpluck your eyebrows. And so the next thing that I do is I take a cotton ball, and I also take some rubbing alcohol, and I just put a little bit on the cotton ball, and I just go underneath it so that, you know, it'll prevent like ingrown hairs and all that jazz, so that it can disinfect that area that I just plucked. So now I take my Dip Brow pomade and I'm just going to brush the hairs out again. And I'm going to put it a little bit. You do not need a lot of this. I've been having this for a month and I've barely touched the surface because I literally go like this. And I just put that much on my brush. And even that's a lot. So I'm going to scrape off a little bit of that. Because definitely, I'm telling you, a little bit of this pomade goes a long way. So now I'm just going to take the angled part of my brush and I'm going to outline the bottom of my brow. And as you can see, I still had too much of my brush and it dripped a little bit. So I'm just going to wipe that off with a baby wipe. When I say you guys need a little amount, I'm serious about that, because a little bit of this product goes a long way, which is why it makes it worth the $18. So now I'm going to flick my brush upward, pushing the product up, but I'm using like really short, light strokes so that it doesn't look like I slapped on a bunch of product on my eyebrows, you know what I mean? So I'm just filling in those sparse spots. And now I'm going to take it and I'm just going to go and I'm going to form the top of my brow. And the arch. And the arch is what's really important. You want your arch to be in the right spot. You don't want it to be too high or else you'll look like Cruella de Vil. You don't want it to be too low, otherwise you look like the stale face emoji. Like, the arch is really important. And also I fill in with just whatever is left on my brush. I fill in the front of my brow. And I don't like that little tapered look. I'm not going to the barbershop for my eyebrows. I don't like the taper. So I just continue, and notice I haven't dipped my brush back into any product. I'm just using the product that I already had on my brush to fill in my entire eyebrow. So I just continue to work with it until it is in the shape and thickness that I desire. And I really like my eyebrows like that. As you can see, it's like clean underneath. So now I'm just going to take the spoolie side again and I'm just going to brush it out again. And then I'm going to take my shears and I'm just going to go down and I'm going to trim all the hairs that I brushed up that aren't basically cooperating, the ones that aren't contributing to the clean shape of my eyebrows. So again, I'm going to brush it up, and then if I find any hairs that are doing that, I just trim them. So as you can see, there's a couple at the front. And if you're careful when you're doing this, you shouldn't cut off your eyebrows. I've been doing this for a while. So I can do it pretty quickly, but if it's your first time, you need to take your time so that you won't accidentally slip up and slice your eyebrow off. Because then you'll really have to be drawing on your eyebrows and not just filling them in. So now that I've gotten it to the shape that I desired and all, well, not all of them. Okay. Now that the hairs are now where I want them to be, I'm just going to take my concealer in my flat brush, my Sonia Kashuk brush, and I'm just going to put a little bit of product on my brush. And I'm not going to touch the front end of my brow since it's how I like it, but I'm just going to go at the highest point of my brow and do a very thin line and then bring it down. And this is serving as my brow bone highlight, as well as cleaning up any mistakes that could have possibly been made when I was arching it. And I don't like to use the brush because it still has products on it to blend it out, so I just use my finger and I just blend out the concealer. And I kind of got a little concealer on my brow, so I'm not picking up anything else because it's probably still some on here, which there was, and I just fixed what I put concealer over. And I'm just blending that out with my finger. And I don't put any concealer up top. I have had a lot of people ask me how I do my eyebrows since I made my last video, because it's like right after I made that last video I switched up my routine. So I do that, and now it's all blended out. So now I just take my brow powder and I use the same brush and I dip it in there a little bit, and then I run it over my brow just so I could keep it in place. And so that, guys, is how I shape and fill in my eyebrows. So I'm just gonna go ahead and do the other side, and I'm gonna speed the video up so you guys won't have to sit through it.